What do you do each day? Practice. What do you do each day? You look clearly at what your level is. All right, we're back with another reflection on the daily Vedantic. And today's reflection is on the left foot and the right foot of progress, our spiritual progress, the ideal and the practice. What do I mean by the ideal and the practice? Well, similar to yesterday's episode, where we talked about knowing your level and not trying to skip your level, being a realist with where we are in a path, with who we are, with what we're wired for, so much of our lives, finding what we're meant for work-wise, the relationships that are healthy for us, the skill sets that we have, the skill sets that we want to build requires a realism with ourselves that very few have. Knowing our level. But what is the role of the ideals if they are way beyond our level? The example I used yesterday was playing piano like Chopin. You don't start your lessons thinking, all right, I want to learn the piano. And 2 weeks, 5 weeks in to your lessons, kick yourself for not being able to play as well as Chopin or Beethoven or Mozart or Red Hot Chili Peppers with guitar, John Frusciante, freak of nature. But how do you utilize the ideal then if it's not practical to achieve the ideal 5 weeks in, 5 years in, when something like that might be your ideal? Or from the philosophical lens, when the ideal might be something like the intellect is the capacity to see the end in the beginning. You can hear that. It becomes a knowledge bomb for us when we hear something like that. The capacity to see the end in the beginning. Oh, wow, I want that. The ideal is what to strive towards. It's critical. It is more valuable than the practice, but the practice, it's like the left foot. That first step is so critical, but you can't just keep leaning on the left foot. You've got to bring the right foot with it. And the right foot is the practice. It's knowing your level and then working towards that ideal. Taking the ideal of the intellect is the capacity to see the end in the beginning. Or love is not seeing any otherness in the world. You take that ideal, you say, wow, I see a lot of otherness. Can I start by just seeing no otherness with my spouse, my significant other? Can I start with just seeing no otherness with my parent that I have a strained relationship with, but I know there's deep affection for? And I love them. Then you move on to your children. Then you move on to your community, your region, your state, your nation, all of humanity, all living beings, everything. Those are the increasing rings of identification that Swami will talk about pretty often. The home, as I believe it was Khalil Gibran said, the home should be the center of your affections, not the boundary of it. Who we love shouldn't stop at the borders of our house, but hearing love is not seeing any otherness in the world. That is hearing Chopin. That's hearing John Frusciante on the guitar and saying, okay, I play a little bit of guitar. I seem to be wired for it. I'm going to go deep with that. But left foot, hear the ideal. Right foot, a lot of work. A lot of reflection. On the philosophical side, a lot of study and reflection. It's the left foot and the right foot. One is not more important than the other if you're trying to go from where you are to where you want to be. They are both critical. The first step, that ideal, they often say, you got to see it to be it. Seeing that ideal from gurus, perfect example. The walking ideal. Reading it. Reflecting on words from Christ or Buddha or St. Augustine. Socrates, reflecting on the ideal that they seem to have really tapped into. The philosophical Beethoven's. And then working towards it. Because here is the beauty of the practice when it comes to philosophy. Is that we are all destined for these ideals. I'm not destined to be Santana at the guitar. I am certainly not destined to be a great forensic accountant. I go cross-eyed when I see spreadsheets. But we are all destined to achieve these ideals. We're wired for it. It's our nature. Our nature is to see no otherness in the world. Our nature is to see the end in the beginning. Our nature is to live and become these ideals. But we've got to know our level, and then we got to practice. If you're wired for it, if your nature is to become the next Chopin, what do you do each day? Practice. What do you do each day? You probably fail a lot. What do you do each day? You look clearly at what your level is. And then more practice. And more of each of these every single day. But if your nature, you're destined to become the next Chopin because it's just wired within you, like we are all destined. Our nature, not even destined, our nature is to live out these ideals. The practice starts becoming, it feels effortless over time. Feels like that's the only thing that feels right to practice. The metaphorical, just sitting down at the piano. The philosophical equivalent is studying and reflecting, experimenting with these ideals and seeing if they work. And you see them work in your life again and again and again. Then you fall, bounce back like a rubber ball. You see it work, then you fall, then you bounce back. You hit wrong notes all the time. But after a while, you just trust, man, this progress is feeling so effortless. Taking on a trajectory beyond my wildest ambitions. And when you start to see that, it's crystal clear. Left foot of the ideal, right foot. Practicality of what needs to be done in that moment. Left foot of the ideal, practicality, clarity in what needs to be done in that moment. The left foot, the right foot. That is today's reflection on the Daily Vedantic. We'll see you next time.